All right, so the big focus on our show today, the debate and controversy around the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. This after South Africa halted its use, while several other nations have jumped to defend the vaccine. South Africa decided to put on hold the use of AstraZeneca's COVID shot in its vaccination program after data showed it gave minimal protection against mild to moderate infection caused by the country's dominant coronavirus variant. Remember, there's a variant that is widespread there in South Africa that is more infectious. The chair of the COVID Vaccines Advisory Committee in South Africa, Barry Schoub, said the country could not ethically use the AstraZeneca vaccine as part of its drive, following early results which suggest it was not effective at preventing mild to moderate illness from the variant in South Africa. Well, and because of this reaction or this decision by South Africa, it's of course led to a lot of reactions from other countries where this vaccine is being used, and Western governments have rushed to offer support for the AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine. Now, UK's Prime Minister Boris Johnson said that he is very confident in the COVID vaccines being used in the UK, which includes, of course, the AstraZeneca vaccine. He said the vaccines are effective in delivering a high degree of protection against serious illness and death, which is the most important thing. So, confidence being exhibited in the vaccine there in the UK. In France, the French Health Minister Olivier Véran actually went on camera and was inoculated with the AstraZeneca shot in front of a reporters in a hospital in southwest Paris. This was an effort to boost public confidence in the vaccine. He said, I continue to recommend vaccination with the AstraZeneca vaccine, which protects against 99% of the viruses that are present in our country. So making the point that the South African variant, or the variant that was discovered in South Africa, is not widespread in France. German Health Minister Jens Spahn said the current evidence suggests all three vaccines approved in Europe for COVID provided effective protection against serious infections, which includes again AstraZeneca. He said, according to what we know now, all three vaccines are effective in preventing the severe course of COVID illness. He told a news conference referring to the AstraZeneca vaccine as well. And Australia, which is expected to approve the use of the AstraZeneca vaccine within days, also expressed confidence in it. Australia Health Minister Greg Hunt said concern around the effectiveness of a soon-to-be-issued coronavirus vaccine is not necessary. So what does this mean for India? Remember, the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine is one of the main vaccines that we use in our vaccine drive. It's produced by the Serum Institute of India and it's called Covishield here. So do we need to be worried? Well, to talk more about this, we're joined by Dr. Anita Matthew, infectious disease specialist, Fortis Hospital, Mulund. Thank you so much for joining us. Dr. Matthew, what is your view on, all these reactions after, and first and foremost, actually, what is your view on South Africa halting the use of this vaccine because it's found to not provide much protection against the variant that is, widespread there?
So the variant that you do see in South Africa probably is something that may not be able to curtail only with the vaccine that we are looking at, which is your Covishield. But we need to understand that the illness spans as mild, moderate and severe. So what you are typically trying to cover here is moderate to severe illness, which is the one which gets the patients to the hospital. So if your AstraZeneca vaccine, which is known to be effective to reduce the amount of severity of the illness, is being taken, then at least you will reduce or prevent the number of patients who are walking into your hospital and requiring hospitalization. I think that's paramount. So I feel that the vaccine should be rolled out and it should be offered to people so that at least you would reduce the number of admissions to the hospital and the number of deaths, which is primarily the goal of giving the vaccine.
Right, and it's very suitable for us because, it's a much cheaper vaccine. The logistics are a lot simpler around the AstraZeneca vaccine, which is something that South Africa was actually, looking forward to. But they found it ineffective against the variant that is active there. In India, so far, we only have a few cases of the UK variant, not the South Africa variant. But do we need to be worried? Because if we're vaccinating our population using the Oxford vaccine or Covishield over here, we could be in a situation where you have, these variants that are found which, the vaccine has no effect on them.
So, if you look at historically, we have a flu vaccine, which we actually add one or two variants which are seen every year. So, we may be in a similar situation later on. For even your COVID vaccines, we may need to keep on adding the variants that you're looking at, and maybe over a period of time, we will be wiser to know that you might need, a single shot every year to keep you out of COVID. So that could be a possibility that we'll be looking at in future. I think towards the year end or so, probably you will have a variant again for including the South African variant. You would rather have a vaccine including the South African variant or the UK variant that you're looking at. So you would keep on probably needing to take a shot every year or every 2 years, depending upon how it spans out over a period of time. But as of now, I think since we do not have so much of those variants around here, vaccinating our population and reducing the spread of the infection is the first thing that we need to look at. And so far, I think the vaccine has done its job. We are seeing a wane in the number of infections. I'm not saying it's all related to the vaccine, but the spread in Mumbai per se has been far lesser than what it used to be earlier.
Right, and of course, what's good is to see so many countries, defending the vaccine and expressing their confidence in the vaccine. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, you have the France Health Minister, Germany's Health Minister, Australia that hasn't even approved the vaccine yet, also saying they are going to go ahead and approve it.
Sure. So, I think we need to understand one thing. We are giving vaccine not to prevent COVID. We are giving vaccine here to reduce the severity of the illness. You would probably not catch a severe form of COVID after vaccine. That's the whole idea of saying that you continue to mask yourself even post-vaccination, because you have to come to a stage where majority of the population is being vaccinated for us to curb the spread and to be able to halt the progress of illness in future. So that's the whole idea of getting everyone vaccinated irrespective of the age. But the major population that you are looking at out here, which is the people who are infirm in the form of either because of the age or the comorbidities, these are the population that we need to target besides targeting just the frontline or the healthcare workers. And once this happens, I think the number of hospitalizations would go down. And like flu every year, we may have some spurts, but by and large, we should be good and we should be out of everything that we are following right now. So maybe in a year and a half down the line, we will be more clearer as to how to go ahead with it. And we probably will be out of COVID as well. And hopefully, thankfully, we should be off using the mask as well.
All right. Well, some optimism there, and hopefully we'll have a lot of vaccines that we can access. Thank you so much, Dr. Anita Mathew, for speaking to us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, let's now get to the latest on vaccines now that are available across the world. And currently, there are 20 vaccines that are in the phase 3 trials, and that is, remember, the widespread trials in which it's tested on thousands of people, and the efficacy and results of the vaccine are seen. 6 vaccines have got emergency use authorization in various countries, and 4 have got full approvals, while another 4 have even been abandoned during this time. Remember, it was a race at the start of 2020 to actually find vaccines, and there were hundreds that have been developed and are being developed currently. 4 being abandoned in the course of that year. At least 89 are in preclinical stages right now. They're under active investigation in animals. And the latest vaccine to be approved was a Chinese vaccine. So this is the 4th Chinese vaccine that has been approved in China. China has given conditional approval to the Sinovac vaccine. So let's take a look at the top vaccines that are available. You have, of course, Pfizer, BioNTech and Moderna, which were the first vaccines that were off the block, and they were approved first in the US. Then you have Russia's Sputnik V vaccine, the data for which was recently reviewed, and it had an efficacy of over 90%. Remember, initially when Russia announced this vaccine, there were some doubts raised across the world because data wasn't shared, but that has now been disproved. Then the vaccine developed by Oxford AstraZeneca, which we were just discussing, which is used in India and several other countries, a much cheaper vaccine than Moderna and Pfizer. Then you have the CanSino vaccine, which is approved for limited use in China. There's Johnson & Johnson, which is in the 3rd stage trials, and we're hoping for some good news on that front. Novavax as well is in the 3rd stage trials. Russia's 2nd vaccine from the Vector Institute has also been approved for limited use there in Russia. Then you have China's other vaccines, Sinopharm Sinovac and Sinopharm Wuhan, which all have conditional approval in China, and Sinopharm, in fact, is being used in other countries as well, where it has emergency use authorization, the UAE, Bahrain and Brazil. And finally, you have the Indian vaccine Bharat Biotech, which was developed in India, which is in the stage 3 trials and has emergency use authorization here in India. So it is being used in our vaccination drive. Now, the other focus today on the show, with more and more schools opening up across the country, various states announcing schools opening, it has raised concerns about the spread of coronavirus. Now, 2 cases have emerged in Kerala schools, which have seen a huge spike days after they began attending classes physically under the COVID cloud. 192 class 10 students of 2 schools in Kerala's Malappuram district have tested positive for COVID following a contact tracing exercises after one of the students tested positive, and then up to 72 staffers too have been diagnosed with the disease. Now, this comes amid the high numbers of fresh COVID cases being reported there in Kerala. Well, let's discuss this now with Dr. Merlin Ammonia, Associate Professor, Division of Infectious Disease, Amrita Hospital, Kochi. Thank you so much for joining us, ma'am. This is very, very worrying, seeing the spike in cases in regard to these 2 schools. First, tell us about this.
Yeah, there is a school-based cluster, 2 school-based cluster in Malappuram, that is in North Kerala, which has been described yesterday. So this was basically one of the students of the school became positive on February 1st, and following contact tracing of the student, 178 students and 75 of the school, the teachers and allied staff were found to be positive on contact tracing. So most of them are asymptomatic, and thorough contact tracing was done, and the surveillance measures are being stepped up in the state. So the exact source of origin of this cluster is still unknown, but still the school-based clusters are still worrying, especially because the test positivity rates are still high in Kerala. They were actually starting to drop this week, but the school clusters are really worrying.
Right, absolutely, ma'am. And as we said, this comes at a time, when other schools in other states have announced opening. In UP, in fact, also has announced the opening of all schools and other classes as well, not just for seniors, senior students. So, what more steps? How can schools be more vigilant? Should they, be conducting those rapid COVID tests on students from time to time, just to check if there is a spread of the disease?
So basically, the American Association of Pediatrics had, published the guidelines for safe school reopening, and most of the situations in which the school-based clusters form are from the community itself, actually. So basically, it mirrors the community spread, and actually the school-based surveillance had been stepped up in the state, and especially symptom-based surveillance and the social distancing measures, especially in students. Now the school is open for more than 10-year-old students. So this represents an age group which can equally, spread the virus as efficiently as adults. So now there is evidence that the students less than 10 years or children aged less than 10 years are less effective transmitters of virus. So I think it should not affect further opening of schools, especially for KGs and everything, as far as the evidence is currently on. But the school-based surveillance has to be stepped up. Symptom surveillance and formation of support groups, especially within the school, involving the local bodies, involving the public health researchers, public health personnel, and stepping up the testing capabilities by tying up with local health authorities also would help in this regard.
Right, ma'am. And the worry with students, even, if they don't exhibit too many symptoms, because, many families live in joint families. You have elderly people in the household, you have grandparents, and that remains, the big fear about children carrying the virus and spreading it to households.
Definitely. About 16 to 20% of the children can be asymptomatic. And also, when we, if we want to step up the symptom surveillance, that too is not recommended by the CDC. This is because COVID has symptoms which can be confused with the usual flu-like symptoms. So just by symptom surveillance, we cannot actually contain the disease. And also, definitely children below 10 years, they are thought to be less effective transmitters. So for children elder than 10 years returning from school, one thing which can be considered is till the vaccine rollout effectively covers the elderly. Elderly can be kept in reverse quarantine. Some measures like that can be considered till the vaccine rollout actually covers the elderly.
All right, Dr. Moni, thank you so much for joining us on this topic, and do stay with us for what's coming up after the break. Our viewers' questions, that's coming up in a short while from now. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's time now for a viewer question segment where many viewers send us their queries about coronavirus, and we still have with us Dr. Merlin Moni. Let's just listen into that first question.
Hi, my name is Parvati, and the question I want to ask is, should the final years be allowed back on campus, especially those which are in residential campuses, considering the fact that it will be harder to track the students in terms of the virus?
All right, so Dr. Moni, related to what we were discussing earlier about, the spike in cases in schools in Kerala, she's asking whether senior students or final year students should be allowed back on campus, because that again becomes, a place where you can have the spread of the virus.
So definitely there is, the schools and colleges can definitely act as leaders for spread of the virus if there is no single measure to curb the spread of the virus like that. Even the vaccine rollout may not save us from that. But properly following the guidance as issued by WHO and CDC and the national bodies, especially in terms of social distancing and compulsory wearing of face masks, and the hand sanitization mode can definitely curb the disease. And once the vaccine rollout also reaches the students, this can definitely help in eliminating, not eliminating, but mitigating the COVID effects. There is no single way to eliminate it as such.
All right, so just have to remain very careful and on your guard. Let's listen in to the next question.
I am Gurpreet Parashar from Gurugram. I want to know, what if an old person has heart problem or asthma? Can he still take the vaccine?
Right, doctor?
Definitely. He definitely needs to get the vaccine on a priority basis.
All right, and that will come in the next phase when you have the over 50s getting vaccine who have comorbidities. I think there's some concerns about whether people, whether if they're already suffering from these problems, whether it is in any way at risk if they take the vaccine, and that's not a valid fear, is it?
It is not a valid fear at all. Maybe that is one of the challenges of an effective vaccine rollout. So basically, those who have comorbidities, it is better to get them vaccinated on a priority basis, which is the same thing that the government of India is moving on to.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Merlin Moni, for joining us on the show today.
Thank you.